getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good evening, folks. Welcome back here to Ron's Race Nights on Slow Motion Broadcasting and the Week 6 action here with the Skippies at Interlagos. My name is Ron Maunz, or as my middle school classmates would probably call me if they saw me now, who? We're in for another good one here. The Skippies always put on a good show. It's an all-time classic iRacing car. I personally adore him, and I think we are in for a mighty good race here this evening. Just part of the absolutely wonderful schedule that we've got of races here for Ron's Race Night here in Season 3 of 2025. Looking at the weeks that have already gone by, we kicked it all off with the Formula C fixed action at Imola all the way back on the 27th of June, and then we headed off to, actually no, that's the 21st of June. That one looks unmistakably like a 7 in my eyes, albeit I may need to get my glasses changed here. Then we visited the Radical Esports Cup at Watkins Glen, Street Stocks at Martinsville, the Legends Road Course Cup at Knock Hill, the Radical Esports Cup at Thruxton, and of course here to ring out the first half of this season, we have got the Skip Barbers running here at Interlagos. Next time out, you'll be able to see the action from the Street Stocks at Lanier. That'll be in just 1 week's time to kick off the month of August here on Slow Motion motion broadcasting, and hopefully all of you will be able to tune into the rest of the racing action that we've got throughout this season. Ron's Race Nights every single Saturday night all throughout the summer here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and thank you to all of you who have tuned into these broadcasts thus far, and to all of you tuning into tonight's racing action. But here we go. We're getting things up and rolling in this qualifying session that we're already in the midst of right now, following Serge Poirier as he heads his way all through the Senna S, the driver of the number 4 car, currently your P3 qualifier as it stands right now. Carl Dronk slotted in P number 1. We look at these racers running their way around the racetrack as it stands currently, and looking to get as good of a run here in this qualifying session as they possibly can, and let's see how it all shake out for these competitors. It's going to be a fun one, though. A 13-minute long race that lies ahead for these racers, and it's all going to get kick-started off here in just a few moments' time. Still in qualifying, half of the session still left to go, and as we are still early doors in here, let's see if we can jump on board with a rider. I think we'll do the number 6. Here we go. This right here is your current non-qualifier right now, the number 6 of Carlos Arroyo, and let's jump on board with this driver as he heads his way all through the Senna S. Really old scan of this track here at Interlagos, but hey, with this old scan, it does bring in some old challenges to it as well, as he heads his way through turn number 3, waiting on that shift to try and keep that momentum rolling as he heads his way on the backstretch. A rather good overtaking opportunity here in these skippies. These cars ever so draft heavy, so I can imagine this run up into turn number 4 is always going to be intense in the 13 laps that lie ahead for these racers. Hits that curve well, runs a little bit wide there. Want to worry about those track limits just a teeny tiny bit around here. Thankfully though, the iRacing rules a bit more lenient than the ones in Formula 1. Otherwise you may end up getting your Q1 time revoked. That's a huge slide from him as he heads his way up the hill. Super important to try and nail down the run through this section, and then you head off into the tight twisties of the mid sector. Really good to try and gain some time. Very easy to lose some time though through this section of the track, as well you can see the understeer, you can feel the understeer raking in as he heads his way all through this section. This is a rather tough turn in its own regard, the hairpin right before the final few real corners around this racetrack. You got a couple of kinks leading up to the line, but this is really the final heave-ho of this lap as Dennis Johansson going to jump up to the front, the Dane in the number 1 car, proving why he's got the 1 on his car right now. But one more real turn. That right there was Arroyo heading his way out of the final turn. Zhong Zhao, I believe, is the other name of the turn. Usually I'd have a track map up for me, but running a single monitor, producing and commentating at the same time is not enough for me to find any sort of way of shoehorning a track map in here. But as he heads his way down that start-finish stretch to the line, let's see what the driver of the number 6 can do here on this first qualifying lap for him. Survey says it's going to be P5 for that driver, so well done to him. But the man who's been the standout star right now is the man who's not actually on the racetrack right now, of Dennis Johansson. Still waiting for a few more drivers left across the line. We just saw Garrett Lenwin go across the line a few moments ago. That's P9 for him here in this qualifying session. Just waiting for a few more cars. Not a lot of racers hitting the track here, as you still have the likes of Cesar Sion, Mariano Andia, and Roderick Mann, who have not set a qualifying time at all. They're not even out there on the racetrack presently, so rather surprising from those racers. We'll follow Fernando Vallon right now as he has his way through the final corner, and it's probably a good time to remind all of you tuning into this broadcast that Ron's Race Nights here on Slow Motion Broadcasting is a publicly funded iRacing broadcasting event. So if you would like to donate to my Ko-Fi QR code on screen right now to support publicly funded iRacing broadcasting, scan that and I will be eternally grateful. As we get to the end of this qualifying session, 15 seconds left on the clock, and it being a solo session, once we get to the end, that will be game, set, match here. So it's looking good for Dennis Johansson to grab the pole position here in this race. Looking pretty good for Carl Donk as well. We'll just have to wait and see how these drivers will be able to shake out here in this race that we have coming up. Qualifying wrapping up right about now as the checkered flag has come out. Just waiting for the session to click over here, and then we can take a look at the 12-car starting grid that we have got for this race here this evening. It will be Dennis Johansson starting this race from the pole. Carl Dronk will join him on the front row. Jason Spittlehouse will start this race in third alongside Serge Poirier in fourth. It will be Fernando Vallon starting this race in P5. Carlos Arroyo in sixth. John Bush will start this race in P7. Alongside him will be Chile Floyd, with a very cool name, in the number 9 car. It will be Gareth Lenowin starting this race in P9. Alongside him, running out to top 10 will be Cesar Salone. In P11 will be Marino Andilla, and then Roderick Mann will round out your field of starters here in this race. That's set to be an intense one for sure. Just waiting for these drivers to line up on this this starting grid and brace ourselves for what's going to be a fantastic night of racing action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Just another part of this absolutely amazing schedule here for Ron's Race Nights in Season 3 of 2025. Just waiting for a few more drivers to line up. I believe the last that we're waiting on is Roderick Mann. You know, they're iRacing drivers. They're always going to try and play with us here on the broadcast booth and say, you know what? I'm going to wait for you to get hyped up for the start. I'm not going to give you that immediate satisfaction of getting this race up and rolling. So just waiting on one more car to take to the starting grid and get this race up, rolling, and ready to rock. The run down into turn number 1. Probably going to be just as terrifying for the drivers at the front of the field as it will be for everybody else in the midsection, a little bit farther in the back of the pack as well. That run to turn number 1, it is good to try and get a move done, but also very conducive to having some lockups on cold tires or cold brakes. You really have to dance with the devil and walk around on eggshells as you head your way off through that section of the course. Just waiting to get this race up and rolling because I think it is going to be a hectic one. The start will be hectic. These racers will look to try and get any sort of gains that they can. Looks like we've finally seen Roderick Mann line up on the starting grid. We're about to get the race rolling here from week 7 of Ron's Race Nights. The green flag is out and the drivers are on their way, looking like a pretty even keel start with both of our front row sitters. Dennis Johansson will try and lead them comfortably off into turn number 1. Some drivers already skating for some positions a little bit farther in the back, but Johansson will lead over Carl Dronk in P2. Spittlehouse, oh, as that's a spinner right behind. That I believe is Gareth Lenwin. He's had a massive slide. There's more drama. Roderick Mann getting a piece of that action as well. Multiple spinners right at the start of this race down into turn number 1, but the game of leapfrog now got to play out at the front. That's Carl Dronk trying to get that move done as he heads his way down the backstretch off into turn number 4. Isn't a move from him. Doesn't look like it's going to be, as Johansson's still holding dominant on that inside line. Let's see them as they head their way out of the turn. It's still going to be a fantastic fight between them with a small little flat app list before they have to get off into the Titan Twisties. One driver who is going to have a fantastic view of all this will be Jason Spittlehouse, the driver number 3, seeing those two battle right in front. Very close to making contact, but that right there is a pretty commanding move. It's attempted again. Johansson trying to stick it through the Titan Twisties. Look at that. They're side by side, still Dronk and Johansson giving us a good battle to talk about right at the start. Carl Dronk, the American behind the wheel, the number 2, gets off to a good start, but Johansson's still going to fight back again down the inside. They're great stuff between these two. I wonder if Jason Spittlehouse will try and get involved in this battle, but I think he's just savoring the moment and watching these two continue to throw haymakers at each other as they head their way down into the final real corner around this racetrack. That's a move from Dronk, but Johansson's going to be there within striking distance. They're back again side by side, and Jason Spittlehouse, I think, will be the one to keep our eyes on. Let's ride on board with him. He's got to pick up the draft. He's actually got to pull out of line to try and save up that run before they head off into turn number 1. I think we're already starting to see some smart racing from him as those two right in front still going to be running side by side. Dronk and Johansson, it's the fight up to the line. Leading that lap, I believe, is going to be Dronk. He sets a fast lap of the race in the process, but Johansson back on that inside, side by side through the turn. Close quarter stuff as they head their way off through that section, but he's still going to hold on to it. Oh, look at that, the runoff into the dirt for Dennis Johansson. I said Carl Dronk was nearly going to have that moment. It looked like those two were going to follow each other in due course, but I don't believe it worked out that way. Johansson now going to have that car on the inside of him. They're once again battling off into the turn, and look right behind Spittlehouse yet again, going to have the fantastic view of all this. He's enjoying himself. He's very entertained at the present moment. Can you necessarily blame him? He's got a titanic battle going on right in front of him. We're only 2 laps, not even 2 laps. We're a lap and some change into this 13 lap long race. As look at that sideways slide sideways through the turn. Dennis Johansson looking to try and wheel it around the inside of Carl Dronk. Wasn't able to get it done. Actually dropped down a little bit, but that was a huge sideways snap. As I will say, we have had some drama a little bit farther behind involving Mariano Adina. Let's take a look at this replay here real quick as we follow the driver of the number 11 machine heading his way down the backstretch off into turn number 4. Survey says this may have been a lockup, potentially, possibly, perhaps. Let's just wait and see here. And yes, it is. Actually, it's not a lockup, just a big sideways snap down into the turn. Not going to work out well as they've towed back to pit lane, already calling it a day. But back up to the front, Carl Dronk, Dennis Johansson, and Jason Spittlehouse all giving us a really good battle right now. And they've broken away from the rest of the pack. Serge Poirier, we follow him right now, the Canadian behind the wheel, the number 4 entry, slotted in P4. Pretty much running all by himself as it stands right now. You gotta feel a little bit bad for him just running alone there. That's Skippy. If we jump onto the gearbox cam of that driver, you won't be able to see a single car for miles. He's gonna feel like he's driving through the deserts of California right now. Just absolute desertion for him right now. But at the front, it is anything but that. You got 3 cars packed in like sardines. About a half a second separates all 3 of them. As look at Spittlehouse, he nearly ran himself off into the dirt, heading his way through that section, heading out of turn number 3 onto the backstretch. Don't think that'll be the successful move as Dronk with a sideways snap through the quarter. He's got to lose out some time bigly through there. He's got to drop down to 3rd, so Dronk not getting off to a good run through 4 at all, as he's going to drop down to P3. Still there within striking distance, but if he has one more mistake, he may slowly but surely... My apologies here, folks. He may slowly but surely lose the draft of those cars in front. Still holding up to the fastest lap of the race, though, at a 1:53.050. So, can't necessarily complain if you're the driver of the number 2. Just try and keep it on the road as much as you can. It's good for your safety rating, and it's also good for your chances of contending for the win here in this race as well. Jason Spittlehouse, though, he still has that catbird seat, but instead of having 2 cars in front, now he's only got 1. Dennis Johansson, that one machine, he's gotten off to a flyer of a start. The 8K iRating driver trying to fend off a 4,300K iRating driver. I'm not sure if that grammar was correct from me, but never mind. Johansson with a bit of a sideways snap coming out of the turn. He may be a sitting duck here, and look at Carl Dronk. He may try and risk it for the biscuit and get a move done here as well. Let's ride on board with the number 1. You can see Spittlehouse in that number 3 machine trying to make something work. They're once again going to be side by side, heading their way down the start-finish stretch off into turn number 1. Will Dronk go for a move? Survey says I think he's going to let these 2 battle it out on their own. There's the move from Johansson. It's comfortable and commanding as he heads his way down into turn number 1, and book it, he is through. Jason Spittlehouse now going to feel the pressure from Carl Dronk right behind. Look at them side by side, with Dronk looking to do a Max Verstappen on the outside of turn number 3. Don't have wet weather here, though, so I'm not sure if that's going to work out exactly as Max did many moons ago, but it is still some close quarter stuff for the final 2 podium spots. Looks like Spittlehouse is maybe gonna get hung out to dry on the inside. Dronk having a slight nose out ahead, and he gets that move done to jump his way up a spot. We'll also say that Cerrone has had a moment as well. Let's take a look at this for the driver of the number 8 machine, heading his way down the start-finish stretch off into turn number 1. I have a feeling it may have been just a simple overcook down into turn number 1, and survey says yes, it is. That's exactly what happened for the driver of the number 8 machine. He gets it back rolling, only loses out on 1 spot to Gareth Lenwin, so that doesn't work out too badly for Sion, but certainly not what he had in his playbook at all here in this race. Only 4 laps on the board, coming to 5 this time by. Thinking of the amount of drama we've had up to this point, and then realize that we aren't even at the halfway mark. This is absolutely fantastic, but I do want to touch on some battling going on a little bit farther behind, involving Child Floyd. Follow him right now, currently in the midst of a small little hornet's nest with himself, Carlos Arroyo, who we rode on board with at the start of this broadcast, and John Bush right behind. I'm not sure if he is affiliated with the beer brand, but the other driver with the Guatemalan flag in the number 7 machine, currently heading his way through this turn. And let's briefly ride on board with this racer as he heads his way off through the final twisty at the end of a very tight and twisty middle sector. And that right there, folks, is how you perfectly time the ability to take a sip of water. It's actually not a sip of water, it's a sip of a zesty beverage, whose name I will not say, but if that company would like to give me some money here for Ron's Race Nights, I certainly wouldn't turn that down one bit. But we follow John Bush in that number 7 car. Very odd, because he is one of only a few drivers in this race that has remained in the exact same spot that they started in, the only 2 others being Jason Spittlehouse, still involved in that battle for the... Actually, no, he's lost a lot of time. What has happened here to Jason Spittlehouse? Last time by saying a 152.8. Something bad has gone down with him. I'm trying to look through to see if there's any sort of incident for him. I'm not too sure if there was. I think he may have just had a couple of moments and dropped down like a stone thrown into a pond. Heartbreaker there for Jason Spittlehouse. It'll give Surge a little bit of company there, but overall, those two still basically going to be running in... I could best describe it as an isolation chamber around this track, as Johansson gonna try and go for the move on Dronk, heading his way through the turn. They're side by side yet again down the hill, off through the long, sweeping left-hander right towards the end of this lap. Dronk still holding on to that spot for now, keyword being for now. He has still got a real intense fight on his hands, and I gotta wonder exactly what the strategy will be for him as he has his way up the hill. This is going to be a dangerous run. It's gonna be a terrifying run, though, that the driver right behind is going to get. You can see that bright red car of Dennis Johansson just looming in the background, but he's not going to be looming anymore. He's going to be challenging him. Look at these two heading their way up the hill through that start-finish straightaway, side by side with Johansson on the outside and Drunk on the inside line. Here we go, down the hill, down the gears, in through the braking zone. They're going to go, and Drunk going to hold off on that race lead for now, but Johansson still there within striking distance. He looks like he's going to clear him through the turn, but it's still not over yet, as here we go back again. Johansson going to give us a run. They're side by side as they head their way down the straightaway, down the backstretch, off into turn number 4. Will it be a move from Johansson? Survey says it's not going to be uncontested, as Drunk still going to fight back on that inside line. It is fantastic stuff between these two racers, still side by side as they head their way through turn number 5. One of them is going to have to back out when they head their way through 6 and 7, but I have a sneaking suspicion that neither of them will. Still gonna be intense. Look at the marbles getting kicked up in the air from Drunk and a little bit sideways through that turn. They keep it clean, they keep it steady, they keep it tidy as they head their way down into turn number 8, and it looks like that Drunk will still fight back now. Gonna have that inside line off through the turn. That's a good spot to be in, and he's gonna be able to jump in front of Johansson, briefly sliding out, but he's not gonna have the inside line yet again. This is some brilliant stuff here at Interlagos, and it is still going to be a fight, but look at Jason Spittlehouse. He's there to pick up the pieces if these drivers just so happen to come to blows. And how hard they're racing right now, I wouldn't necessarily rule it out. They have been throwing haymakers at each other, and we aren't even at the halfway mark. I think we are technically past the halfway mark, halfway through lap number 6, but still, this is some great stuff that we're seeing here at the current moment. Carl Drunk holding on to that race lead as we see this action go on. I do want to jump back to that battle that was going on a little bit farther behind. We will jump and see that here in a couple of moments' time, involving Charles Floyd and John Bush, but the fight at the front still on between Johansson and Drunk. I feel bad because we've been focusing on these drivers all throughout this race, but they have just been throwing haymakers at each other all throughout, and I think this 2-car battle, which was formerly a 3-car battle, may turn back into a 3-car battle here soon. Jason Spittlehouse close to picking up the draft yet again, and just had his personal best lap of the race last time by as well. Last time by twice. Yes, that was intentional. I'm just kidding. It was not. I'm just slow, but these drivers certainly aren't. Johansson and Drunk side by side down the backstretch into turn 4, and will it be a successful move from the number 2? It will, but he hit the curb a little bit. That's not going to help out his cause at all. Dennis Johansson got to look to try and fight back on that inside, now turning into the outside, down into 6 and 7. This is going to be some gutsy stuff between these two. I have a feeling that this is going to have to cool off a little bit, otherwise these racers may find themselves in a world of trouble, but he goes for a move down the inside into turn number 8. That's some gutsy stuff. It goes sideways through the turn. Dennis Johansson riding a bucking bull in the form of the Skip Barber car as he heads his way through turn number 8. He's still within striking distance, but guess who's back? Back again. It's the number 3 of Jason Spittlehouse. He's there. He's there to pass in case these drivers have any sort of off-track moment, and I think he is really starting to smell blood in the water. In fact, if I shut my trap here, and you can listen in very closely here, Hear that? That's the Jaws theme beginning to play. Jason Spittlehouse is back, and he is back to get involved in this fight right towards the end, peaking at the right time with that 5 laps left to go here tonight. And to all of you tuning into this broadcast, hey, if you're not enjoying this racing action, I don't know what you could enjoy. This is some of the best racing action that iRacing has to offer, and it is still far from over. Johansson fighting back again on Drunk. They're side by side into one. Spittlehouse setting the best lap of the race last time by not his personal best lap of the race, the best lap of the race. Going purple, peaking at the right time, but these two in front still giving us a ding-dong battle. But here we go. Ding-dong, that's a doorbell being rung as Spittlehouse is back and back to fight. Let's see what the American can do with that number 3 machine. Is he going to make it 3 wide? He will make it 3 wide as we head our way down the backstretch into turn number 4. This is dangerous stuff with these racers, and Spittlehouse, after losing out on about 3 seconds a couple of laps ago, he put his nose to the grindstone. He makes his way back up into the race lead. Now, the fighting between Drunk and Johansson, that's not the battle for the lead anymore. It's a battle for P2. Those two getting caught up in their own drama just allowed Spittlehouse to close in at a rate of knots, and now it's a 3-horse race. Look at Johansson, super sideways. Here we go, a dive from the driver of the number 1 car to take the race lead once again. Spittlehouse now side by side with Drunk. The Americans battling for P2 and P3, as that was a moment for Spittlehouse. Mega sideways through the turn. These drivers are giving us a good fight to talk about for sure, and shows you how quick these Skip Barber races can change on a dime. One moment, you see him running solidly in the race lead. Next thing you know, he's a little bit farther back. We're going to jump back to this battle here involving the number 9 of Child Floyd. Currently slotted P7 as it stands presently. It's a fight with himself and John Bush running right in front. Let's ride on board with the driver of that number 7 machine as he heads his way off through this section. I think a better angle may potentially... Oh, boy, you get sideways through the turn. You can hear the skidding and the angriness in the tires on that number 7 machine. He's going to have to really try and wheel it heading off through the final few turns. Otherwise, he is going to be a sitting duck come time for that straightaway here in a couple of moments' time. Giles Floyd, though, he may be there to pounce, but never mind this battle because it's once again hot up at the front. Johansson looking to jump into the race lead. That's some close quarter stuff side by side through 2, and Drunka make it work on the outside. Brilliant stuff between those two racers. Man, I don't think these drivers have given me a single moment to breathe that all throughout this show, which, hey, you won't catch me complaining. You won't catch me complaining at all. Will say John Bush has had some sort of off-track excursion. It wasn't a commentator's jinx because I didn't have him on the camera at the time, so hey, if it works, it works, I guess. Potentially, I'm not too sure how the laws of physics work around that, but Drunk is still holding on to it. Johansson and Spittlehouse in P2 and P3. I'm going to jump back to that battle a little bit farther behind because it is still rather hair-raising. This time, it's involving the likes of Villalone, Sion, and John Bush. So Bush trying to make his way back up the running order after that mistake we saw last time by. We're going to take a look at this replay here to see what happened to him. Yeah, overcooks it big time down into the turn. Nothing he could have done but just slide off the track. You can hear those tires screaming in agony as he headed his way off through there. And there you can see the likes of Villalone and Cerrone just catch up and blow his metaphorical doors off as they had their way down that start-finish straight away. But John Bush still involved in it. It is not game, set, match for him yet. However, another moment heading off through the turns may do him in. Let's run on board with him quickly. See the sawing at the wheel because I'm sure the tires are not very happy on that number 7 machine. We'll say Valone has been able to check out from these two, but still tense with Cerrone and Bush as they had their way off down into turn number 9. And it looks like it's a lot more under control for him on this lap, so that's a positive. I mean, granted, his tires were turned into rectangles a couple of laps ago, but, you know, you gotta crack a couple eggs to make an omelet, I guess. Potentially, I'm not really sure how that works either. We'll say Roderick Manis had a moment in the number 12. We'll take a look at this replay to see what happened to that driver. The last to join the grid, and one of the other latest to get bit by the challenges of this very demanding racetrack. Down to turn number 4, which seemed to be a trouble spot for these racers, and there it is, a simple simple sideways snap down into the turn. Tough break for him. He's running a little bit farther in the back. John Bush still involved in this battle with himself and Cesar Leone. Let's take a look at this as they head their way up the stretch, through the line, and down into turn number 1. And right in front, Child Floyd and Villone have their own battle to talk about as well. There's a move from the Brazilian, doing well at his hometown track to jump his way up into P6. So nicely played from him there, the driver of the number 5. Now, you definitely have to hope for a miracle, or hope that he can have some sort of nitrous injection in his car, as you could just see John Bush there in the back of shot. He nearly lost it over the curb coming at turn number 3. I'm not sure how the dynamics work for all that, but hey, I'm not a physicist, so I'm not going to question it there. So John Bush still struggling with the handling on that number 7 car. The handling woes seemingly have not gone away, but the battling up at the front has not gone away either. Dennis Johansson now going to potentially pounce one more time. There you can see right in front is going to be your current race leader and soon to be not race leader of Carl Dronk. There they are side by side up the hill. Jason Spittlehouse yet again losing some time, so the yinging and yanging for him in this race. The yo-yo of pace continues to go up and down for Spittlehouse. Was slow last time by, then set the 5th lap of the race just about now. So Spittlehouse still here to pounce. He may be peaking at the right time, waiting for the last lap to try and make something work. Dronk and Johansson, though, as much as they've been battling, I think it'll all come down to a run up to the line. If he keeps it steady heading through the final real turn and gets a good run out of it, he may be the one in the catbird seat at the end of this race. But they're side by side one more time into 4. Johansson, oh, bit of a curb whack there on the inside of him. That's not going to help out his spine or his suspension or his run through the turn 1 bit. And Dronk now going to be there to pounce. He is there side by side, heading their way back up the hill into 7. And survey says this is going to be a move from him. It is still going to be some close quarter stuff as they head their way down into turn number 9. The dive from Johansson. Will that work for the number 1 car? Whoa, boy. I thought that was going to end in tears, but all that side by side battling, Spittlehouse is back. He wants to get into the race lead yet again and hope that he doesn't fall back down yet again, as I thought we were going to see Johansson try and do a bump and run on Dronk down into the hairpin. That would have been an interesting strategy. I'm not sure how that would go over well in iRacing, but you know, I would like it here on this broadcast. I think that would be very, very entertaining indeed. Carl Dronk is now going to be the one in the... What's the opposite of a catbird seat? I guess the opposite of the catbird seat would be the dogfish seat. That's the first time that has ever been said on iRacing broadcasting. You're witnessing history here, folks. But Carl Dronk, he's going to be the one punching that hole in the air. Johansson going to take advantage of that run. I want to pay attention to this as we get to the end of this race. Who's going to be out in front at the line? Survey says it will be Johansson by a comfortable margin as well. I have a feeling we're going to see a photo finish at the end of this race unless there's some sort of extracurricular drama with 2 to go. That's the fight back from the 2. That's a fight back from the 1 into turn number 2. They're side by side yet again. You know, it's getting tiring talking about these racers going side by side because they've pretty much been that way throughout the vast majority of this race. And Spittlehouse there to pounce as well. If there's any sort of weird background noise getting picked up, someone setting off fireworks was interesting because it's not July 4th, it's July 26th here on the east coast of the U.S. Dronk and Johansson still side by side. Johansson may try and get a nose out ahead, but he's going to be stuck on the outside, which, I mean, hey, we've seen him make it work before, but really, the side-by-side heading off through this mid-sector of the track, there's only 2 ways it can end. It ends in either getting a highlight reel, it turned into a YouTube short here on the Slow Motion Broadcasting YouTube channel, or you end up having some sort of moment that drops you down like a stone thrown into a pond. Either way, though, I'm not complaining about one bit. These racers throwing haymakers at each other ever since the drop of the green flag won't catch me complaining, but I think these racers are probably a little bit stressed at Spittlehouse, though. He may try and get involved in this fight. They're coming to the white flag this time by 1 more lap of racing action soon to be upon us here at Interlagos, and it's Dronk and Johansson and Spittlehouse there to try and fight it out and duke it at the end. That's Drunk with a moment. That's Johansson gonna jump into the race lead. That was a huge sideways snap from him. I wonder if that it certainly wasn't intentional, but I don't think he's gonna turn that down one bit because, man, he's not going to be the one punching that hole in the air. He may very well be able to take the race lead again down to turn number 1, but look at the 3 of Spittlehouse. He's got to try and make a 3 wide on the high side. That's going to be a gutsy move if he can try and make it work. There they go. They are 3 wide. Who's going to be the first to back Abbott? Who's going to be the first to try and take the race lead on this final run into turn number 1? Give it to Drunk. Give it to Johansson, who whacks the curb again. Those curb whacks in these skippies, despite the fact they've got car suspension, they really do not like the curbs. It's an open wheel car. You can't be too surprised about that. So every single time I see these racers whack those curbs, I feel like my bones have been sitting in vinegar. I feel all wiggly looking at these racers hitting those curbs as badly as they have been. So that's not going to work out well for Johansson as they head their way down to turn number 4 right at the very end of this race. There's still time to pounce. There's still some wiggle room. Johansson running wide through turn number 4. I will say Spittlehouse losing a bit of time there as well through the opening sector. So we'll have to see. I mean, P3 coming to the line, you'd be able to get the most amount of draft, but if he's just too far back, it's not going to work out too well for him either. So you get the yin with the yang when it comes to all that for him. But Drunk, not in the good spot at all, really. Leading coming out of the final turn here at Interlagos is just about as close as you can get to getting your fate sealed, but I will say he may have one saving grace, one bit of slipstream. That's a 12. That's Roderick Mann. He may get out of the way of these racers, play the sportsman role, and adhere to blue flags as the leaders catch up to him on this white flag lap, but it may be a saving grace to Drunk. It may save him a little bit. They head their way down into turn number 14 for the final time in this race. Drunk gonna get that advantage, the slipstream from the 12, but I don't think it's enough. Let's see how it goes. Johansson gonna peek a wheel down the inside. He's got peak 1, peak 2, peak 3, peak 4. They're side by side, heading their way up the hill right to the line. It's been 13 laps of drama, 13 laps of action, and 13 laps of side by side. It comes down to 5 thousandths of a second, but Dennis Johansson going to grab the checkered flag when it's all said and done. The driver of the 1 had to fight like hell to get it done, but he does get it done. Johansson, your race winner at the end of it all here at Interlagos. Drunk going to finish a very close P2. We'll say we have another battle going on a little bit farther in the back. This is Charles Floyd and John Bush. They're heading their way off through the mid-sector right now, so they're still a little far away from getting to the end of this race, and Floyd there to pounce. He may try and get a move done here soon. These fireworks are going off. I hope they aren't getting picked up. They probably aren't, but they're certainly being heard in my ear, maybe not yours. Here we go. Floyd exiting that final real turn. John Bush gonna be there to try and withstand any sort of overtake, but there's only so much you can do. I think Bush may have that gap. He may have the advantage. He may be good to go. The driver, the number 7, leads them, heading their way up the hill for the final time in this race. It looks like it will go the way of John Bush. Child Floyd going to finish in P9. So just one more car left across the line as going to be the Welshman of Gareth Lenwin. So he started this race off on a bit of a sour note, had a spin down into turn number 1, but he ends this race down in P10. So that's how it shakes out at the end of this race here. A race full of just about everything you want out of it, side by side, from the start to the finish. I certainly won't complain about that one bit, because my, oh my, that was a brilliant fight right up to the end of this race. Gonna get those results loaded up here in just a couple of moments time. I'll remind you folks one more time that today's broadcast here on Ron's Race Nights on Slow Motion Broadcasting is a publicly funded iRacing Top Split broadcasted race, and if you'd like to support Ron's Race Nights, you can by scanning that QR code on screen right now to support my Ko-Fi. All support is greatly appreciated. With all that being said, we can take a look at the results here and brace ourselves and kind of catch our breath at the end of absolutely thrilling race from start to finish. Man, oh man, those drivers did not give me a single point to breathe throughout that race here this evening. But at the end of it all, I will let you know that your race winner is going to be, if I can get those race results loaded up here right about now and try to load up the practice results. That's not what I'm looking for. We're looking through the race results, and we want to see that gap. 3 thousandths of a second at the line between Dennis Johansson and Carl Drunk. Jason Spittlehast will round out your podium in third. A pretty wild race for him from start to finish. Only ends up 0.6 of a second back of your race winner. Brilliant stuff there at the end. Certain Courier will finish this race in fourth, with Carlos Arroyo running out your top 5. Fernando Villolón will finish this race in 6th. Cesar Cerrone will finish in P7. John Bush in 8th. Child Floyd in 9th. Gareth Lenwin will finish this race in P10, with Roderick Mann and Mariano Andia running out your 12 cars that are classified at the end of an absolute barn burner of a race here this evening here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. If you've enjoyed the racing action thus far, how about you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the racing action, because that would be known, folks, that was one of the best races I've ever gotten to call in my entire iRacing broadcasting career. These Skippies truly do not disappoint. They put on some brilliant racing action. I knew in setting up this schedule that Interlagos was going to be a barn burner. I hate to say I'm right, but I think I was right here this evening, and hopefully all of you were able to enjoy this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting as well. Got a lot of racing action to look forward to here on SMB, not only from the rest of the schedule here from Ron's Race Nights that you can see on screen right now. All of those times that you see on screen are East Coast US time, and the next time you'll be able to see the Skip Barbers will be at Tsukuba for week number 11. That'll be on August the 30th in a couple of weeks time. Next week though, you'll be able to see the Street Stocks running at Lanier. That'll be a pretty fun race. Formula C fixed action going to return here to Ron's Race Nights at the Nordschleife. Chronicle Esports Cup going to be running at Fuji. I get to cover that series on the iRacing YouTube channel, and those SR10s have put on some brilliant racing action. I've actually been calling those races for as long as I've been doing iRacing broadcasts at all, so I may be a little bit biased, but I still think that is some good action to tune into. Legends Road Course Cup running at Lime Rock on August the 23rd, and then of course Skip Barbers at Tsukuba with the Formula C Fix Championship bringing this season to a close. Ron's Race Nights you can catch on Saturday nights here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Gives you a very good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you do not miss out on any of the racing action. But as for this broadcast here for week number 6 of the Ron's Race Night, Skip Barbers at Interlagos, I think that will just about do it. So to all of you tuning into this broadcast, thank you all so much for tuning into this show. I can see all that chat there in the YouTube chat. I think I had my hands busy producing and commentating a race like that, but thank you to all of you tuning into this broadcast. I recognize some of those names from the Formula Ford official shows that I do on Mondays, and I also saw my dad there in the YouTube chat as well. But to all of you tuning into this broadcast, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into it here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.